The morning mist clung to the winding mountain road like a gentle embrace. Jake Thompson wiped the sweat from his brow as he loaded the last crate of fresh apples into his old pickup truck. The orchard had been in his family for 3 generations, and though the work was hard, he found peace in the rhythm of the seasons. At 32, Jake had weathered more storms than most men his age. The bank had been calling again about the overdue mortgage payments. The recent drought had damaged half his crop, and without a good harvest, he might lose everything his grandfather had built. But Jake never complained. He simply worked harder, rose earlier, and held onto hope like morning dew holds onto grass. The drive to town usually took 20 minutes along the serpentine road that carved through the mountains. Jake knew every curve, every pothole, every dangerous spot where the guardrails had seen better days. He drove slowly, carefully, his precious cargo of apples shifting gently in the truck bed behind him. That's when he saw the black SUV. It came around the bend too fast, its engine roaring like an angry beast. Jake could see immediately that something was wrong. The luxury vehicle was weaving erratically, its tires struggling to grip the wet asphalt. Steam rose from under its hood, and the driver seemed to be fighting for control. Without hesitation, Jake pulled his truck to the shoulder and jumped out. The SUV was heading straight for a sharp curve where the mountain dropped away into a deep ravine. If it didn't stop soon, whoever was inside would face a terrible fate. "Help!" the scream cut through the morning air like a knife. Jake ran toward the road, his heart pounding. The SUV's brakes were shrieking now, but the vehicle wasn't slowing down fast enough. In a moment of pure instinct, Jake sprinted alongside the car and managed to grab the door handle. The metal was hot to the touch, but he held on. Through the window, he could see a woman with golden blonde hair, her face pale with terror. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, her knuckles were white as snow. The car lurched violently to one side, then the other. "Jump out!" Jake shouted, but the woman shook her head frantically. The car was moving too fast, and the rocky ground would surely cause serious injury. Instead, Jake did something that surprised even himself. He yanked open the driver's door and, still running alongside the vehicle, managed to grab the woman around the waist. In one fluid motion, he pulled her from the car just as it careened toward the guardrail. They tumbled together onto the wet grass beside the road, Jake instinctively wrapping his arms around the woman to cushion her fall. Behind them, the SUV crashed through the metal barrier and disappeared over the edge, the sound of twisted metal echoing through the mountains before finally falling silent. For several moments, neither of them moved. Jake could feel the woman trembling in his arms, her breath coming in short, frightened gasps. Slowly, carefully, he helped her sit up. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice gentle despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. She looked at him with eyes the color of autumn leaves, wide with shock and something else he couldn't quite identify. Her white blouse was torn at the shoulder, and there was a small cut on her forehead. But otherwise she seemed unharmed. I don't think so," she whispered, then looked toward where her car had vanished. "My SUV. It just started overheating, and then the brakes felt strange, and I couldn't." Her voice trailed off as the reality of what had almost happened sank in. "You're safe now," Jake said simply. "That's all that matters." He helped her to her feet, noticing for the first time her expensive clothes, the designer heels that were now scuffed and muddy, the delicate gold jewelry that caught the morning light. This wasn't someone from his world. That much was clear. "I'm Jake," he said, offering her his jacket as the mountain breeze picked up. "Victoria," she replied, accepting the worn denim gratefully. Victoria Hartwell. The name meant nothing to Jake, but he could see she was waiting for some kind of recognition. When none came, a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Thank you," she said, and there was something in her voice that made Jake look at her more closely. "You saved my life. I don't know how to repay you." "No need," Jake replied, walking toward his truck. Let me drive you to town. We can call someone to come get you." As they rode down the mountain together, Victoria found herself stealing glances at this man who had risked his own life for a complete stranger. His hands were rough and calloused from honest work, his clothes simple and well-worn. There was a quiet strength about him that she had never encountered in her circle of wealthy acquaintances and business associates. "What do you do?" she asked as they entered the small town. "I grow apples," Jake said with a slight smile. "Have an orchard up in the mountains. Been in my family for years." Victoria nodded, but inside, her mind was racing. She was Victoria Hartwell, heiress to one of the largest tech companies in the country, worth more money than Jake could probably imagine. She had been driving to a board meeting in the city when her car malfunctioned. In her world, people usually wanted something from her money, her connections, her influence. But this man, this Jake Thompson, had saved her life and asked for nothing in return. At the town's small diner, Victoria called her assistant to arrange for a car to pick her up. But as she waited, she found herself reluctant to leave. She and Jake shared coffee and conversation, and for the first time in years, she felt like someone was seeing her for who she really was, not what she represented. "Your orchard," she said carefully. "Is it doing well?" Jake's smile faded slightly. "It's had better years," he admitted, "but we'll make it through. We always do." There was something in his tone that told Victoria there was more to the story, but she didn't press. Instead, she found herself making a decision that would have surprised anyone who knew her. "Would you show it to me sometime?" she asked. "Your orchard, I mean. I'd like to see it." Jake looked at her for a long moment, seeing past the expensive clothes and polished appearance to something genuine underneath. "I'd like that," he said simply. As Victoria's car arrived to take her back to her world of board meetings and business deals, she realized something had fundamentally changed. This quiet farmer with gentle eyes and calloused hands had not only saved her life, he had reminded her what it felt like to be seen as a person, not a bank account. And for Jake, watching the sleek black car disappear down the road, he found himself thinking that maybe, just maybe, the most valuable thing he'd harvested that day wasn't apples at all. Sometimes, the most precious things in life come to us when we least expect them, wrapped in moments of crisis that reveal the true nature of our hearts.